Part 23. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 221. What about the 1,000-year-old jade? What about being spiritual? If you offend Master wrong, no matter how expensive it is, you will still end up in pieces. Although Wang Zhan felt it was a pity, he found an iron hammer and smashed the jade into pieces. Afterwards, the pile of debris was casually sprinkled into a certain flower bed in Mu's garden. Thinking of such a treasure being destroyed in his own hands, Wang Zhan still felt quite emotional. Someone behind him patted him on the shoulder and said, "Gu exorcises evil spirits, which is an attack type. It can neither seek blessings nor attract wealth. It is of no benefit to stay by your side, unless you are a Taoist mage who is good at refining little ghosts." Got it? The person who spoke was Du Hao. Wang Zhan didn't want to see him, but these words were very useful to his ears. He turned around and sighed quietly, and said to Du Hao, "It's not a solution to go on like this. What is the method of cultivating the soul you taught? When can I take care of it?" Du Hao replied, "The method handed down by the ancestors is definitely infallible. No one has tried it for how long it will take. It may be 3 years, or it may be 5 years. I don't know. Ugh. The matter of gods and ghosts is really difficult. The most important thing is that if this matter doesn't end for a day, Du Hao will come out from time to steal his limelight." Master Wrong always asks Du Hao for everything, but his confidant has become a mouthpiece instead, which is terrible. Mu Zi has been ill for the past few days, and Mu Ling has also been ill. It's madness. At first she locked herself in the room without eating or drinking. The maid thought she was throwing a temper tantrum, so she didn't care. She just waited for Mu Rongxian to come back and reported it as a routine. Mu Rongxuan's anger has not subsided yet. He groaned heavily when he heard about it, and said, "Let her go. If you don't want to eat, just starve her." As a result, Mu Ling really didn't eat anymore. She sometimes cried, sometimes laughed, and sometimes screamed that there was a ghost in the room. It was only then that Mu Rongxian realized that something was wrong, and asked someone to open the door. Mu Ling screamed in fright, shouting that something was wrong, and everyone rushed to send Mu Ling to the hospital. After all, she was her own daughter, so she still felt distressed. In order to heal her daughter, Mu Rongxian ran around for several days, looking for a suitable hospital. Because of Mu Ling's sudden madness, the Mu family was full of discussions. The servants thought of the successive funerals at home. Mu Zi almost drowned, and Mu Ling suddenly went crazy again. Under the panic, many servants took the initiative to resign. For this reason, Mu Rongxian was in a hurry to get angry for several days. However, Mu Zi, who was in the small mansion, didn't know about these things. She was lazily lying on the bed recuperating. Not only didn't go to school, she didn't even go out of the room much. Mu Rongcheng held a bowl of soup and slowly fed Mu Zi. "It's not that I don't have hands," Mu Zi complained. She knew that Mu Rongcheng had good intentions, but she really couldn't stand his greasy energy. Mu Zi is very aware of her condition. Her body is just a minor problem. The main reason is that her mental state is too bad, not to the point where she needs someone to feed her. Mu Rongcheng firmly fed her spoon by spoon, and enjoyed it. However, he really couldn't do this kind of job of serving people. After a few sips of soup, either leaked or spilled, Mu Zi's front was soon wet with oily spots. "It's so dirty." Mu Zi tugged at her sticky skirt, wanting to cry. This kind of stuff is hard to clean. Mu Rongcheng couldn't see her dislike him, so he put down the bowl and spoon in his hand, picked up Mu Zi's face and kissed it. "If you can't clean it, buy a new one." Mu Zi pushed and pushed a few times feebly, out of breath. "She is really delicate now. Ah no, it's weak." Mu Rongcheng stopped and looked carefully at her slightly frowning eyebrows. Although he was still bored, it seemed that he was not as repulsive and disgusted as before. He was relieved a lot. Just as he was about to continue feeding the soup, there was a knock on the door downstairs. Muzi pushed him immediately, "Go and open the door." Murong Chen didn't move at all, and sat upright with the bowl in his hand. "Don't worry, if no one opens the door, they will leave naturally." Muzi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Don't make trouble, maybe mom forgot to bring the key." "I can't help but slander in my heart, this person is really naive sometimes." Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 222. It was the servant who knocked on the door, and the servant was accompanied by Muse's classmate, Zhang Xinyuan. Zhang Xinyuan heard that Muzi was ill, so he came here to visit him. Suddenly, when the door opened, there was a tall and handsome man inside, and the little girl was startled. "Fourth young master, Miss Zhang has come to visit Miss Muzi," the servant said. Only then did Zhang Xinyuan realize that the man in front of him turned out to be Muzi's brother. She secretly looked at her, thinking that the outside world said that the fourth young master of the Mu family was a prodigal and indulgent, but this person in front of her was quite handsome, not at all as bad as the rumors said. After thinking about it again, Muzi's reputation outside was not good at first, but in fact Muzi is far better than the Mu sisters. It seems that people spread rumors and misunderstood the brothers and sisters. Murong Chen took Zhang Xinyuan upstairs. Muzi took advantage of this short time to change out of the dirty clothes on her body, and finished the soup in one go, saving Murong Chen the trouble of feeding him with a spoon. When Zhang Xinyuan saw Muzi, he asked her with concern if she was feeling better. "It's just a low-grade fever. I don't have energy, and my hands and feet have no strength." Muzi smiled lightly. "It should be fine after 2 days of rest." Zhang Xinyuan's face was serious. "Although it is only a low-grade fever, the fever has not subsided for so many days, so we must pay attention to it. The most important thing is the body, and we must not be careless." Seeing the two of them chatting, Murong Chen said, "Zizi, entertain your classmates, and call me if you need anything." The two little girls were talking, and it was not appropriate for him to be here as a big man. After Murong Chen left, Muzi said to Zhang Xinyuan, "Actually, I'm already much better. I was so dizzy that I couldn't even get out of bed 2 days ago. My family was worried about me, so they asked me to rest for a few more days before going to school." Zhang Xinyuan took out a few booklets from his school bag. "I brought the latest notes, you can take a moment to read them, so that you can have a clear idea when you have class next week." "Great, thank you, Xinyuan." Muzi was very happy. Zhang Xinyuan was really caring. Zhang Xinyuan pursed his lips and smiled. "Last time you said that it is a blessing in disguise, but this illness is not without its benefits. Look, it happens that you don't have to take this week's physical examination, and the girls in the class are almost dying of worry. Most of Gray's female students are well-known ladies. The most troublesome course is physical education, but physical education is a compulsory course for middle school students, and the scores are also included in the total score. Then Zhuangjia must be very worried." "Yeah, I'm worried too. I'm afraid when I think about the 800-meter test." Muzi couldn't help laughing when she thought of the scene where the girls in her class were frowning on the playground. The two chatted for a while about school. Zhang Xinyuan said to Muzi again, "Mom and Dad know that you are sick, and they are very worried. They want to see you, but they are afraid that it will be inconvenient for you. They are elders, how can I let them come to see me?" Muzi waved her hand and refused, "And I will recover soon, so don't bother. Actually, besides visiting a doctor, I have other things to ask you." Zhang Xinyuan hesitated. Muzi asked suspiciously, "What's the matter?" "Do you know, the girl child abuse case that was solved recently?" Zhang Xinyuan asked her. Muzi blinked and nodded. "I know, Such a big case has been on the headlines every day recently. Jang Hyun seemed to be having a hard time saying, the mother of the suspect in the murder case had some friendship with my mother, and happened to know about my brother's reversal of the case. I recently found my family and wanted to hire a lawyer to help her son reverse the case. Mom asked me to ask you mean, if you don't want to, our family will prevaricate. If you want, we want to bring someone over to visit. After Jang Hyun finished speaking, he added emphatically, Mom said, this case is on the cusp of the storm, it is very sensitive and troublesome, so even if you refuse, she is completely understandable. You really don't have to force it. After hearing her finish, Muzi fell silent for a moment. This is Xiao Jingjia's case. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 223. The 3-year unresolved case was taken down by Xiao Jingjia and made great contributions, which really made Musa feel unhappy. But being able to catch a villain who got away with it is a cause for celebration in itself. Muzi will not deliberately disrupt the judicial process for personal grievances. The reason why I helped Zhang Huan last time was because Zhang Huan did not break the law, and innocent people should be defended. But this time, Muzi was not sure. Hyun, I help people to reverse the case, there is a prerequisite principle. Muse's tone was calm and calm, that person must be innocent, if he is guilty, no matter how he defends, it is meaningless. Jang Hyun nodded slightly, I understand, my mother said the same thing, we don't want to be villains who help others, it's just, that Aunt firmly believes that her son is innocent, this kind of trust may be blind to outsiders, but... She raised her eyes, looked at Musa, and sighed, Zizi, you also know that when my brother had an accident, it was the same, no one believed him, everyone thought he was messing with the female student, because of emotional conflicts, so only my parents and I have always believed that my brother is not that kind of person. It is precisely because we understand the sense of grievance of not being trusted, so the other party asks to come to the door, and my mother can't bear to refuse. Jang Hyun felt sorry, lowered his head and asked in a low voice, will it embarrass you? Muzi smiled and shook her head. This is nothing to be embarrassed about, but before making a decision, she needs to make sure that the other party is not the real murderer of the murder case. I may still need to rest for a few days, how about this, you let them contact Mingjun Law Firm first, I will look at the case files tomorrow, and then decide whether to take over the case. Muzi is not a lawyer. To handle the case, she needs to rely on Chu Mingjun as a bridge. In the case of the Zhang family, outsiders only know that Mingjun Law Firm and police officer Zhang contributed. Only those who are close to the Zhang family know that there is another person involved. Jang Hyun was very conflicted, she was worried that Muzi would not take over, and she was also worried that Muzi would take over the case. He was worried that Muzi would not take over, because he was afraid that if there was really a grievance here, the Zhang family would become a sinner who would not save him. But if Muzi really takes over, Jang Hyun is worried that Muzi will be abused and wronged. The nature of this massacre is vile, and the sky is full of anger. Once the suspect is exposed, everyone wants to destroy him. Defending the suspect at this time will undoubtedly arouse public outrage. Muzi neither said to accept nor refused to accept, but Jang Hyun felt more at ease in his heart. It's right to be more cautious. Jang Hyun nodded. The two talked for a while, and Murong Cheng from outside brought in a glass of milk, put it gently on the bedside table, and said, drink the milk before taking a nap. Feeling a little pushy. Jang Hyun was very embarrassed, and got up embarrassingly, I won't disturb your rest, take good care of your body, and I will come to see you next time. Muzi was indeed a little bit out of energy. She nodded with a smile. Well, see you at school next week. When Zhang Xinyuan left, Muzi's face collapsed. My classmate came to see me, you didn't even pour him a glass of water, and you drove him away after only a few words, she complained depressingly. Fortunately, Zhang Xinyuan wasn't that fussy, otherwise it would be so embarrassing and impolite. Murong Cheng glared at her. It's not enough to serve you alone, why do you want me to serve your classmates? Muzi. Her cheeks became inexplicably hot, she turned her head awkwardly, and whispered, who asked you to serve me? Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 224. Murong Cheng's thin lips curled into a smile. Muzi's face turned even redder, you're talking nonsense. When did I ask you to serve me? Murong Cheng looked rascal, and said, didn't you call me? That's because. Muzi was speechless, bit her lip and lowered her head, not speaking. She couldn't deny that Murong Cheng had helped her a lot without him. It would be very difficult for her, a 16-year-old girl, to clean up the mess. Even if she managed to think of a way to deal with it, she would not be able to leave no trace. What's more, her physical condition was very bad at the time. Looking back, this time it was really thanks to Xiao Yat. Musa thought of the third eye she saw, and secretly exclaimed that the fact of ghosts and ghosts is mysterious. If she hadn't adopted this crow, she might really be dead now. However, how could it be such a coincidence that there happened to be such a bird by her side when she needed it? Thinking about it in detail, in her life, there are actually many coincidences. Musa's thoughts went back and forth, thinking of the day when her body was picked up. She sneaked a glance at Murong Cheng. I didn't dare to think about it before, because Murong Cheng was her brother-in-law, and he didn't have any contact with him on weekdays, and he didn't even say a few words, so it shouldn't be him anyway. But now, she knew another identity of Murong Cheng. Like the ninth five-year Master Rong. With financial resources, power, and connections, such an identity seems to be in line with her guess about the mysterious man who saved her back then. Could it be, is it really him? This seems to make sense. It doesn't seem to make sense. Why is Murong Cheng secretly in love with his sister-in-law? Muzi was startled by her own thoughts, her face turned redder and she was extremely embarrassed. She lowered her head, her black hair fell down her sides, covering her face. Murong Cheng didn't notice her abnormality, and sat down on the side of the bed with a calm expression, squeezed into her warm blanket, and put his arms around her waist. Muzi was held in his arms, and his absurd thoughts caused a storm in his heart. How could he treat his sister-in-law? This feeling is not only absurd, but also very embarrassing. She must have made a mistake, it can't be like this. Handing the warm porcelain cup to his mouth, Murong Cheng fed her milk. Muzi refused to let him feed it, she held the milk glass with both hands, and sipped it in small sips. The milk was very sweet and slightly hot. Her cheeks were rosy in the hot air, and her soft lips were soaked in moisture, making her redder and tenderer. Murong Cheng felt that he was also a little thirsty. But she is not in good health now, so he doesn't dare to make trouble with her. Muzi only drank 2 sips, and stopped drinking. Murong Cheng took the cup, drank the remaining milk in one gulp, then gathered the quilt and let her lie down to rest. Go down, I can't sleep if you're crowded here. Muzi pushed him. But Murong Cheng smiled and said, can't sleep? Didn't you sleep with me these days? You always sleep like a pig. Muzi was angry and ashamed, she gritted her teeth and scolded him, you are shameless. You are a pig. Taking advantage of her can still speak so confidently. Since Muzi fell ill, Murong Cheng would touch Muzi's bed every night. Bai Wei thought that his brother was taking care of his sister, so the two switched rooms, but in fact, Cheng had never slept on the bed in Ai's room. Cheng patted Ai's head and coaxed, "Yes, I'm shameless, I'm a bastard, I'm a pig, okay, go to sleep." He will recite the few words she cursed over and over again. I had nothing to do with him, muttered and cursed a few more words in a low voice, lay down unwillingly, and closed her eyes in his arms. She looked like a doll when she was asleep, with thick eyelashes and red lips. Cheng liked it more and more, and kissed her lightly. I suddenly opened his eyes, looking at him with clear and bright eyes. "What kind of person do you think Suzy is?" she suddenly asked without thinking. "Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 225. Surprise flashed in Cheng's eyes. "Why did you mention her all of a sudden?" "Can't sleep, just chat casually," I replied casually. Cheng smiled when he heard the words, with a bit of evil spirit. "Can't sleep? We can do something else. Can't you be more serious?" Musu reached out and pinched his waist under the quilt, gnashing her teeth. "I really want to put your head under the Niagara Falls and take a good shower, there are too many dirty things in it." She was still sick, her hands didn't have much strength, pinching Cheng's waist was no different from scratching. Cheng held her hand with a smile, and deliberately lowered her waist. "The position is not right, it should be lowered a little." I withdrew her hand in shock, even the tips of her ears turned red. "So bad? How could this man be so bad?" I no longer had the thought of probing, turned over in embarrassment, turned her back to Cheng, and ignored him. But Cheng wrapped her into his arms from behind, with a smile in his tone, squeamish. "Are you angry again?" "You're too bad, I don't want to talk to you." I buried her head in the quilt, her voice buzzing. Cheng put his arms around her and asked, "What's wrong with me?" I resolutely ignored him, buried under the quilt and pretended to be dead. But Cheng had plenty of ways to deal with her. He wrapped his arms around her waist, slipped his calloused palms into the pajamas, bit her earlobe irregularly, and the hot air he exhaled penetrated into her ears, making it hard for her. I couldn't stand it. I wanted to hide, but it was inevitable. She has nowhere to go. Cheng, she turned her face angrily, "Are you still letting me sleep?" He was the one who let her rest, and he is the one who tormented her now. "Zizi, when you recover from illness, let's do it like last time, okay?" Cheng's voice was hoarse, and he hugged her even tighter. I's heart skipped a beat. She knew that Cheng was talking about the last time. She helped him with her hands. "My heart is like the rising tide of the river in late autumn, and it is cold after flowing." Cheng, what do you think of me?" When I asked the sentence, she didn't get angry, her voice was like a sigh, even with a hint of sadness. "My woman." Cheng kissed her neck, breathing heavily, "My baby." I couldn't feel any disturbance in her heart. Such sweet words were not the answer she wanted. She lay quietly in Cheng's arms, and for the first time formally examined the abnormal relationship between her and Cheng. In the beginning, he was an unscrupulous bully who teased her with frivolous behavior and repeatedly surpassed the brother-sister relationship. This is an embarrassing and angry thing for any woman. Later, he was a ferocious devil who watched her, stalked her, humiliated her, restricted her freedom, put her in danger several times, and made her miserable. However, he is also a gentle lover. He will give her elaborate and luxurious gifts, cook for her, carry her down the mountain, say some love words that sound scary, but are shocking in people's hearts after careful recollection, slowly seduce, imprison her. She, unable to break free, unable to escape, I had tasted the pain. She couldn't help herself, and it was impossible not to hate her in her heart. But I really want to ask how much she hates. She felt at a loss again. What was she thinking? Why do you suspect that Murong Cheng is the one who collected her body? Is it subconsciously making excuses for herself, because if he is, she can accept it without any scruples? Such a psychological change made Musa feel scared. She closed her eyes and told herself, he couldn't be. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 226. There was a moment when she thought he was, but this thought was like a twist and turn, falling into her heart in twists and turns, and finally tied into a deadlock, unable to find a way out. Impossible. If he is really the corpse collector, it is impossible not to recognize her. If he was really the body collector, it was impossible not to explain the reason to her. If he really is a corpse collector. Musi felt that she was too weak. It must be that her will is not firm enough and her heart is shaking, so she has such absurd associations, just to find a reason to convince herself for that shameful heartbeat. The more I think about it, the more I feel weak and incompetent. Musi didn't want to think about it anymore. Behind him, Murong Cheng wrapped his arms around her waist, gently stroking her soft skin. The scorching bruise fell on the back of her neck, lingering all the way, leaving deep and shallow red marks. Musi let him run amok, closed his eyes and didn't move, feeling bitter in his heart. She's really done. She was already used to such behavior of Murong Cheng, so much so that the sense of shame when kissing and hugging became weaker and weaker. Habit is a terrible thing, it will make people lose the will to fight. In the future, if Murong Cheng pressures her on the bed, will she accept it without changing her face? Musi was really afraid that she would become like that, depraved and spineless. She was full of thoughts, and finally fell asleep gradually in depression. The afternoon sun was blocked behind the curtains, and the room was dark and silent. After Musi fell asleep, she was defenseless, her petite body nestled in the man's arms, and her breathing was gentle and long. Murong Cheng kissed her little face in sleep, and there was a gloomy look between his brows. It would be great if I lost my memory. After being silent for a while, he muttered to himself. When he woke up, Murong Cheng was not by his side. This is not unusual, he is often elusive, and once he disappears, he will disappear for several days in a row. Recently, when Musi was ill, Murong Cheng stayed at home to take care of her, which was already very unbelievable. After all, Murong Cheng is a big shot, and big shots are always busy. Just like the warlords in the old days, they fought for territory and managed power while guarding against being pulled down. Murong Cheng is really busy. Such people usually end badly, and the women who follow them probably won't end well either, right? Musi leaned against the head of the bed, thinking quietly. After sitting for a while, she got up and got dressed. She felt much better today, and she was almost cured. Opening the curtains, the golden sunlight from outside poured in, adding a layer of warm radiance to the whole room. Musi subconsciously squinted her eyes slightly, feeling happier because of the good weather outside. Only when she is in front of Murong Cheng, will she feel 1,000 traces of melancholy. When Murong Cheng is not around, her heart is open and comfortable. After washing up, she went downstairs to have breakfast. Bai Wei kept persuading her to eat more. Musa's illness was lingering, she was lethargic all day long, she hardly ate well, and she lost a lot of weight. Bai Wei felt very distressed. Musi also felt that she was too thin, so she worked hard to eat. She is not like the current beauty girls who pursue skinny skin, she just wants to be stronger and stronger, so that she will not be powerless every time in front of Murong Cheng, like a weak chicken. Even if he can't beat him for a while, but after all, he is young and will grow up, and Murong Cheng is 8 years older than her, so he will age faster, she will win sooner or later. Thinking about it this way, I seem to have an advantage. While eating breakfast, Muzi I received a call from Chu Mingjun. Xiao Ming's voice was like morning, and he wailed, "Miss Sister, did you send Ms. Xia to the law firm? Can you stop playing with me? We really can't take this case. You will be scolded to death. What will you do if you call me in the future, hanging around in circles? Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 227. Muzi I ate 3 fresh wontons in a leisurely manner, and after listening to him post a lot of complaints, he said, "Send the electronic version of the case file to my email in a while, and the information should be as comprehensive as possible." Xiao Ming. After a while, he really wanted to cry, "Miss, we really can't do this." I know Muzi I was eating wonton, her voice was vague, "Don't worry, I didn't want to become a public enemy, and I didn't ask you to agree to the other party right away. Let's read the file first. If there is something wrong, we can discuss it later. Come on. There is something to do, which means that there is something worth tossing about in this case." Xiao Ming's mood is bitter and entangled. His small law firm is busy with neighborhood disputes every day. As a man, he is not without melancholy. I can introduce a few big cases to him, now it's good, the big case really came. However, this will cause public outrage. If it was known that he was defending the murderous maniac in the torture case, the law firm would be smashed the next day. "Miss Sister." Chu Mingjun wanted to struggle again. "Let's have breakfast, let's talk later, remember to send the case file as soon as possible." After finishing speaking, Muzi I hung up the phone. "What is the case file?" Bai Wei asked beside her. "It's an extracurricular homework." Muzi I learned Murong Cheng's routine. "Nonsense, my classmates and I joined the detective agency in the school to simulate case investigations. This is an extracurricular homework." "Oh, that's it?" Bai Wei really had no doubts, and said, "Gray has a lot of extracurricular activities." "Yes," Muzi I agreed. After breakfast, Muzi I went back to her room to check emails. If Chu Mingjun hadn't mentioned Ms. Xia, she wouldn't even know that the suspect in this case was named Xia. Xia Chenan, a single-parent family with his mother's surname, a 21-year-old college student. On November 2nd, someone saw him taking away a girl, Zhou Xianxian, from the kindergarten gate. On the 6th, Zhou Xuanxuan's body was found. It was proved that Xiaochanan bought it at the supermarket on the day of the incident. This is the key evidence against Xiaochanan. Xiaochanan's confession is very intriguing. He said that he took Zhou Xianxian away out of good intentions, in order to send Zhou Xianxian home. As for skipping rope, Xiaochanan said that he went to the supermarket to buy skipping rope to make the children happy. Later, the two separated accidentally. When Xiaochanan was looking for Zhou Xianxian, he saw a black car taking Zhou Xianxian away and drove away on Fuxing Road. He mistook it for Zhou Xuanxuan's family members, so he went home without reporting the crime. Every sentence of Xiaochanan's testimony could not stand up to scrutiny. If he really wanted to send Zhou Xianxian home out of kindness, he could ask the kindergarten teacher to contact the parents. Moreover, the route he took Zhou Xianxian was not in the direction of Zhou Xuanxuan's house at all. There is also the black car he mentioned. The police called the surveillance. At that time, there was no black car driving on Fuxing Road. The prosecution's evidence was conclusive, but the accused's confession was riddled with flaws and vulnerable. No idea. Muzi I looked at these materials and muttered to herself. At this time, the phone rang again. Muzi I answered the phone. It was Zhang Ci calling. It turned out that Chu Mingjun saw that he could not persuade Muzi I, so he called his cousin for help. "You want to defend Xiaochanan?" Zhang Ci asked her as soon as the phone was connected. Mu Zi flicked the documents displayed on the tablet, and casually replied, I haven't decided yet, I'm looking at the documents. Jiang Ci was silent for a while, and said, if you want to deal with Jiao Jingjia, you will have a chance in the future. This case is too sensitive, so you have to think it over carefully. Jiang Ci also disagrees. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 228. Yes, I know, Mu Zi replied, his eyes still fixed on the computer. Huh, she said in surprise. Jiang Ci on the other end of the phone heard it and asked, what's wrong? Your police station has introduced criminal psychology portraits. Mu Zi found a report in the files, which was a criminal psychology portrait about serial girl child abuse and murder cases. It has been introduced a long time ago. I feel that this thing has been deified by film and television dramas. It is not very useful in actual investigation, and it is a bit tasteless. Jiang Ci pouted, disapproving of the so-called criminal psychology portrait. Mu Zi smiled, ordinary crimes are really ineffective, but it is more useful for abnormal crimes and serial murders, because the psychological traces left by such criminals will be particularly heavy when they commit crimes. She glanced at the report on the computer and said, the portrait your police station made for the murderer said that the age of the murderer should be between 30 and 45 years old, which doesn't match Xiaoqianan. The only thing that doesn't match is the age. Look at the other items, they all match. Jiang Ci paused, and then said, and the criminal psychology portrait can only be used as an auxiliary investigation. If it is not accurate, the skipping rope Xiaoqianan bought is tied to that child. This is the truth. Mu Zi thought for a while, then smiled and said to her, Officer Jiang, please be accommodating and arrange for me to meet the suspect. Jiang Ci raised her voice, you really want to help him? It's hard to say now, I have to see myself first. Mu Zi looked at the scenery outside the window, and said in a flat tone, let's just say today, the weather is good today. Jiang Ci. As if feeling the old friend's speechlessness, Mu Zi laughed, Angzan, I won't do anything I'm not sure about, and there's only 1 week left before the trial. Whether I want to take this case or not, I have to see myself before making a decision. Well, whatever the prosecutor says, that's what. Jiang Ci was helpless. Mu Zi then sent a message to Chu Mingjun, asking him to contact the suspect's family and inform him of the prison visit. Xiaoqianan's mother, Xia Xian, was ecstatic after receiving the news. The other party did not immediately refuse, but asked to visit the prison, which gave her hope. God has eyes, her son is finally saved. Quick! Go to Mingjun law firm. Xia Xian got into the car and urged her driver. The driver was an old man in the family. While starting the car, he asked with concern, Madam, is there a lawyer willing to defend a young master? On Xia Xian's haggard face, a pair of bloodshot eyes opened wide and bright. Yes, yes, it is the Miss Mu who helped the Zhang family reverse the case. She will definitely save Chenan. Outsiders only know that Mingjun law firm helped Zhang Huan to turn over the case. Xia Xian originally thought so. After asking for nothing, she found Mingjun law firm, but was ruthlessly rejected. Any law firm would not get involved in this troublesome matter, and neither did Chu Mingjun. When Xia Xian was in despair, someone told her, you should go to the Zhang family, there is someone else who really helped Zhang Huan reverse the case. Xia Xian and Jiang's mother are high school classmates. Although they know each other, they haven't seen each other for decades. In fact, they are very strange to each other. But for the sake of their son, Xia Xian had to visit and beg for mercy. Pitiful to the world's parents, Jiang's mother couldn't bear to refuse. It happened that Zhang Xinyuan was going to visit Mu's family, so Jiang's mother asked Zhang Xinyuan to find out about Mu Zi's tone first. Unexpectedly, Mu Zi was really willing to help. Xiaoxian was so excited that she wished she could fly to the law firm now and tell that Miss Mu about her son's grievances. When she arrived at Ming Jun's law firm, she saw Chu Ming Jun was talking to a girl, and hurried over quickly. "Lawyer Chu, is Ms. Mu here?" Chu Ming Jun was slightly stunned, and introduced Mu Zi, who was beside him. "This is Miss Mu Zi." Mu Zi, Xiaoxian didn't understand. She looked at Mu Zi and asked, "Are you, Miss Mu's younger sister?" "No, I am myself," Mu Zi said. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, HhandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 229. Xiaoxian looked at her in astonishment. "A 16 or 17-year-old girl, you say she is Miss Mu?" Xiaoxian froze in place, unable to react for a long time. How could the savior she was thinking of be a child? When Ms. Zhang introduced Ms. Mu to her, she did not mention her age. Could it be that the person who helped the Zhang family investigate the case was really a child? "You, how old are you this year?" Xiaoxian was a little confused. 16. Mu Zi smiled slightly, her brows and eyes curved, showing a bit of childishness. Xiaoxian was even more uncertain. Isn't it absurd to ask a child to reverse the case? Chu Mingjun knew Mu Zi's ability, and said to Xiaoxian, "Ms. Xia, don't look at Miss Mu's young age. If you want to make a turn for your son's case, if you look at the whole Qingjiang city, she may be the only one who can handle it." Chu Mingjun handled the Zhang family's case, and Xiaoxian believed him. Seeing that he admired Mu Zi, and remembering Mrs. Jiang's trust in Mu Zi, Xiaoxian's doubts slightly eased. Thoughtful, she looked at Mu Zi again. Mu Zi looks like just an ordinary female student. Her palm-sized face is as smooth as jade, her eyebrows are delicate, her black eyes are quietly watching Xiaoxian, her eyes are magnanimous and calm. "Can you really help my son reverse the case?" Xiaoxian asked again. "I need to meet myself first, and I can answer you only after I understand the details," Mu Zi replied. Xiaoxian was slightly disappointed that she didn't agree. But things have come to this point, even if there is a child in front of her, Xiaoxian has to try. What if? What if? People who are in a desperate situation are willing to try any glimmer of hope, because if they don't try, there will really be no turning point. Although Xiaoxian was suspicious, she followed Mu Zi and Chu Mingjun to the police station. Xia Chenan was arrested as a suspect. Because he had not yet been tried, he was temporarily detained in the temporary detention center of the police station and was not taken into prison. Zhang Ci was waiting at the door early, and when he saw them arriving, he immediately came over to say hello. Xiaoxian was even more shocked when she saw that the female police officer ignored Chu Mingjun and walked side by side with Mu Zi while chatting. Does this little girl really have the ability to reverse the case? Zhang Ci and Mu Zi in front were talking in a low voice. Undecided criminals are usually not allowed to visit prisons. Except for meeting with lawyers, no one is allowed to visit. I have spoken to the guarding police. Let Xiao Ming go in together, try not to take too long. Yes, I see. Mu Zi nodded lightly, half an hour is enough. After arriving at the place, Zhang Ci and Xiaoxian stayed outside, while Mu Zi and Chu Mingjun went in to see Xia Chenan. The interview room is similar to an ordinary office, with only one table and two chairs, no windows, and the LED light tubes emit a blue-white cold light, which shines on the wall, making the room pale. Not long after Mu Zi sat down, Xia Chenan was brought by the guards. He was very thin, and his facial features were very similar to Xiaoxian's, except that the lines were tougher, the shadows under his eyes were heavy, his lips were thin, and he looked very gloomy, without the vigor that a young college student should have. Xiaochanan raised his eyes to look at Mu Zi in front of him, and then at Chu Mingjun. His eyes were confused. Chu Mingjun, who was dressed in a suit and tie, was obviously more like a lawyer than Mu Zi. He didn't understand why the lawyer was standing, but let a little girl sit in front of him. Cough, cough. Chu Mingjun coughed uncomfortably, and said, "Mr. Xiaochanan, your mother entrusted us to act as your defense lawyer. We need to understand the case now. Please describe it to us carefully. Is it okay?" Xiaochanan was stunned, as if he couldn't believe it. "Is there any hope for my case? Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 230. Chu Mingjun didn't answer, but looked at Mu Zi. Mu Zi asked him lightly, "Did you kill someone?" Xiaochanan couldn't react to such a direct question. He was stunned for a moment before replying, "No, I didn't kill anyone." "If there is no murder, there is still hope in the case." Mu Zi raised the corners of her lips in an inaudible way. Xiao Ming, who was standing beside her, couldn't feel at ease when he heard this. When every murderer was caught, he said he didn't kill anyone, but in fact. He glanced sideways at Mu Zi, thinking, she doesn't really believe Xiaochanan's words, does she? "Miss, don't be so naive." Xiaochanan began to talk about the day when the crime happened. On November 2nd, he happened to pass by the kindergarten and saw Zhou Xianxian standing alone on the side of the road. Out of kindness, he approached and asked if he could take her home. He agreed to the little girl's request and bought candies and skipping ropes to Zhou Xianxian. Xiaochanan slowly narrated. His deep voice was the only one in the meeting room. "Do you know how many days are left before the trial?" Mu Zi suddenly interrupted him. Xiaochanan was taken aback by her question. 6 days. "Yes, 6 days. Excluding the time we eat and sleep, the real time that can be used for investigation and evidence collection is less than 100 hours. Mu Zi leaned forward slightly, getting closer. Her clear eyes showed a bit of coldness under the light. "So, let's not waste any more time, shall we?" Xiaochanan was stunned, and then there was a little anger on his face. "Aren't you my lawyer? Aren't you here to help me? I'm sorry, we haven't accepted your case for the time being." Mu Zi looked indifferent and shook her head lightly. "If you continue to lie, then we will never accept this case." "I didn't lie." Xiaochanan's face turned red with excitement, and he gritted his teeth. "I didn't kill anyone either." "No, you lied." Mu Zi's tone was very light but also very firm. "She looks cute and soft, clearly a young girl with exquisite carvings, but there is a hidden sharpness in her eyes, with a calm and deep restraint that does not match her age." Xiaochanan was inexplicably timid, and looked away a little guilty, not daring to look directly into Mu Zi's eyes. "If you really want to help Zhou Xianxian go home, why don't you find a way to contact her parents? There are so many toys in the supermarket. Why did you choose skipping rope? You and Zhou Xianxian got separated on Pingkong Avenue, where there is a large area of demolished old houses. Nothing. What did you take her there for?" A series of questions made Xiaochanan's face change, and even Chu Mingjun looked at Mu Zi in surprise. "If you keep asking like this, Xiaochanan's suspicion will become even bigger, miss." Mu Zi's voice was calm and unwavering, with a hint of coldness. "Xiaochanan, you should be thankful that this murder case is a serial murder case, otherwise you really have no chance of turning over." When Xiaochanan heard the words, he didn't know what to think, and lowered his head with a pale face. Chu Mingjun looked bewildered, and asked Mu Zi in a low voice, "Why is it a serial murder case, so there is a possibility of turning over?" "Because of time." Mu Zi said. "The first victim of this serial murder case appeared 3.5 years ago. At that time, he should only be 18, no, to be precise, he was 17 years old. It's unlikely that a 17-year-old boy committed an almost flawless murder." Chu Mingjun touched his nose. "What was he doing when he was 17? Playing basketball, playing video games, pursuing female classmates. But based on this alone, do you think Xiaochanan is not the murderer? It still feels far-fetched. Chu Mingjun subconsciously looked at Mu Zi.